All right, so we're just going to talk about The Witcher 3. I'm not going to show my face for this one. I'm just going to ramble on about my experience after 50 hours with a game that came out in 2015 that I am playing for the first time right now at the end of 2025.
Mountain Pass as beautiful as ever.
Oh my God. Now, when I hear that out loud after saying it, it's like mind-blowing to me. And what I mean by that is the amount of depth, beauty, and just overall immersion that this game has to offer just makes me so happy. So incredibly, I don't even know what word to use, content that I can boot up a game and I'll have a smile on my face when I'm about to actually click play. And I'm just like, what's going to be next? Because every single NPC that you encounter is significant. It could be a very small way. It might be a massively dramatic way. But every single one of them has somewhat of a story to tell. That may be a backstory, or that may just be a little snippet of something before you play them in Gwent. Like, it doesn't have to be this big thing, but it really shows the range of storytelling that is at play here. And that's what I want to talk about today, because I need to finally express a little bit of this. If any of you have been watching and seeing some of the videos about the playthrough, you'll know how I feel while I'm playing, but now being able to kind of digest what's happening, slow down and think and actually come up with some points to express is just meaningful and something that I really want to do. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm already dead. All right, so I played games with bigger maps, with tighter combat mechanics, flashier skill trees. But after the 50 hours of The Witcher 3, one thought just kind of keeps knocking around my head. And that thought is nothing. It's nothing. Nothing has ever made me care about the strangers in this game, or strangers in a game, that the way that this game does. And I just alluded to that a little bit at the beginning of the intro, but it's really that impactful. And not about loot, not about XP. I'm talking about genuinely caring for people I'll likely never meet again outside of a 15 to 20 minute side quest. The only difference to that is the Bloody Baron.
I'm Geralt of Rivia.
What is happening? How has it come to this that I'm actually wearing this on my head? Also, this is definitely caught in the wig. That's kind of an issue, so I don't know how I'm going to get that off, but...
Wind's howling. How do you like that silver? Looks like rain. I'm a witcher. Lost your nerve? Place of power. Gotta be. Faster, Roach. Strange. Fuck.
Because I feel like that quest line happening within the first, whatever, right, 5 to 10 hours of the opening of the game is one of the most beautiful stories to exist. And it almost just seems like that's what starts off this game on the best foot, because there is just so much depth. And that's going to be a word that I use often in this video. There's just a deepness to not just the characters and obviously the stories that are being told, but the outcomes. And then you actually get to make decisions. And then those decisions branch off into making other decisions. And then it just gets me questioning, and it's kind of mind-blowing to me why we have to ask this question in 2025, because this game is back in 2015 with development starting when? Years before that. So there's no excuse to not put in the kind of effort and depth into a game, into an RPG. Like, at least try. Do you know what I mean? Like, coming from just a guy who makes videos about games and posts them on YouTube and shares experiences, I am baffled. I'm not a developer. I'm not a publisher. I have no connections to anything in this industry. I barely know any other YouTubers, but like, I don't even understand how games these days can't replicate even a quarter of what is happening in this game. And listen, I'm only 50 hours in. I've been told the DLC is the greatest DLC to ever exist in a video game. Like, how excited do you think I am to continue playing this game? And I know that I have probably hundreds of hours to play in this game. And I'm not someone who puts like, hundreds, like mid 500s to 1,000 hours into a game. So this may be eventually be the highest amount of time I spend in an actual video game. I can just see that happening. Anyways, that was a lot of rambling. So I want to show you exactly how CD Projekt Red pulls off the trick. Because once you see the moving parts, you stop calling it an RPG and you start calling it a narrative engine dressed in steel and silver. Yeah, I'm going to word it that way. All right, so let's talk about a world that breathes without you. Most open worlds, let's be honest, feel like stage sets. The props wait politely for your arrival. Velen, Novigrad, and Skellige. They feel like places that actually resent your intrusion. And that palpable sense of history and hardship, that's the secret ingredient. That's the secret sauce, guys. Riding down that boggy road toward, I don't even know how to pronounce it. Is it Midcopes? Midcopse? It doesn't matter because you'll see trees stripped for war chariots, chimneys blackened by dragon fire, and a lone dog gnawing on a boot that still has a foot inside it. Like, literally, it's just that detailed. There's no quest marker, tells you to notice these. The landscape is the first narrator. Honestly, what hooked me in the opening 5 hours or so is how the game trusts its own lore enough to kind of leave it unspoken. And what I mean by that is the lore is presented in this game within the environments, and a lot of it is uncovered with posters or by reading books or hearing chatter from NPCs. And it's optional. You don't have to dig in that deep to it if you don't want to. You'd be doing a massive disservice if you don't, to be honest. But this is a game that it's compelling. It's so compelling that you want to look into it. And it's not like a moment where, oh, I just want to get through this part of the game. Like, I have to do it. It's like, no, I want to read that note that I just picked up on this quest, or I need to read that book because I want to know what's going on with Elder Blood, because eventually it's going to make a difference whether or not I know something when I finally get to meet Ciri in the game. And it's stuff like that. And, there's graffiti on the wall referencing the massacre at Sintra. The old woman mutters Nilfgaardian pigs under her breath as you pass. People spit on you. You don't have to click on any of this. Like, you don't have to read it and watch it, but the world is richer because you can. That density pays emotional dividends later. And when you meet refugees who fled the very village you rode through yesterday, their stories land harder because you've already seen the ash pits where their homes used to be. I rescued the children on the side quest that had to do with the crones of Crookback Bog. And I'm told that because I saved them, it may be like not the most optimal decision to be made because, I let the spirit live and the spirit's worse than any of the crones could have been and all this stuff. But ultimately, those children are actually still living in the world somewhere. And when I run into them, it's going to be such a nice moment that I was able to save the 5 or 6 kids, even though, 4,000 people are probably going to die or did die. But either, you know what I'm getting at.
I heard the yells, then laughing, went up and hid in the bushes near the woods. My mum yelled, and the soldiers laughed. Laid my pa down by the barn door. His head clean off.
Oh my God.
And then my mum.
It's all right.
Oh,
That's enough.
That was really good voice acting, though. So let's talk about the side quests or the optional content, the Witcher contracts. Because to me, to be honest with you, these are not optional. Yes, you can choose not to do them, but everything matters in this game. Everything is kind of intertwined or coincides with something. So if you miss out on something in the world, and also don't even like fast travel, I'm not using fast travel because I've uncovered so many things. There was like one instance where people, after I posted the video, were like, dude, many people don't even see the side quest about the dog. And he had like something on his neck, a chain or something, or a key. And people like, it's kind of like a rare quest to be seen. And I only saw that or ran into that dog because I didn't use fast travel. So at the beginning of the game, the immersion for me is super important. Obviously, the whole game here, but just walking around or using Roach or whatever it may be was just, it added to that level of becoming one with that world. And the side quests are all memorable, are all significant, are all worth it. And the rewards that you get from these, like you might get a new steel sword or a new, I don't even know, armor set that massively upgrades. That's a massive upgrade from where you're at. And you're just like, oh my God. And then the name of them is super cool too. Like the named weapons are phenomenal. And they all have backstories. They all have different attributes that you have to pay attention to. So build wise, there's so much room there. And looking just at like the character development that you can get with all of the skills and the skill trees, it doesn't seem extremely deep at first, but then you can figure out with the mutagens how you can increase your sign intensities and your rage management, your resource management, how you're going to go about kind of healing and using bombs and decoctions and potions. And I feel like all of that clicked early because I'm playing this game on Death March. Now, the Death March difficulty was very hard at the beginning, but I've settled in. I feel like I've gotten better at the game. I've improved my character, obviously. Geralt is getting stronger, better armor, understanding the rhythm and the dance of the combat more, and when to use certain signs, when to be defensive. So Death March, for me, is the definitive way to play, even as a newcomer. I just would recommend that totally, and that has been my experience, and I would stand for that all day, every day. I just really appreciate the optional dialogue and all the branches that you get. And, you know, you may run into a case where there was one where I had a werewolf that was about to eat this woman, and I had to make a decision whether or not to just leave them be and let the werewolf kill her, or interrupt and get involved and try to kill the werewolf. So I actually chose to kill the werewolf, and then I died. And when the save reloaded, I was so mad that I ended up changing my decision to let the werewolf just do what he needed to do, because ultimately, you know what? That was probably the best decision anyways, because she really wasn't that great of a person. So like, just having the ability to make those choices is super refreshing and very deep from a gameplay standpoint. The next part I want to talk about is back to the Bloody Baron, because everybody talks about the Bloody Baron. And, you know, when I hear about him, at first I was like, all right, this is just nostalgia talk, and this is the first quest that people are hearing about, or you know, that remember. But it's not. Like, the brilliance here is purely structural. The main quest in multiple side arcs knot around one broken man so tightly that skipping anything feels like letting him off the hook. When I found the lubberkin in the garden, I expected a jump scare. Instead, I got a 5-minute monologue, raw and heartbreaking, about a stillborn daughter and a father who fled to war because he simply couldn't look at the crib. The game doesn't ask you to forgive him. That's the main part, too. It asks you to understand that forgiveness and absolution are entirely separate currencies. Let that sink in. And I beat him at Gwent, which was probably the most difficult part of the entire Bloody Baron questline. And then looking for Anna the whole time, we find out, at least the choice that I made after letting the spirit live, that tree spirit, that Anna was with the crones and she was cursed. So she turned into a water hag, and ultimately she was left there to die. There was no choice that I could make at that point. I've already made all my choices. And then I find out that the Bloody Baron hanged himself. And it's such a morbid and sad ending. And the daughter was involved, but it's also beautiful because it just built a foundation of what this game could do. And there's just so many things like that in this game. Heartbreaking just moments that Geralt has the chance to make choices about, and giving the player the agency to do that is so rewarding, and I just don't understand why other games can't do it as often.
Wife of the Baron of Crow's Perch.
She belongs to no man.
A fruit ripened in her womb. A fruit sprouted from seeds sown by a man she detested.
We helped her. She agreed to serve.
Really?
She bears the mark. She is ours.
All right, so then we have the mechanics part of it. And these are the mechanics that make you actually be able to roleplay. So the bestiary looks like trivia at the first glance, right? It's, weak to moon dust, vulnerable to igni, etc., blah, 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 blah. But when you track a Noonwraith, for example, you actually track her. You read like diary fragments, you sniff around a dried up well, assemble clues like a medieval tech or some sort. I don't know, whatever it is. By the time you draw your silver sword, you're internalized her tragedy. So the fight feels like the final stanza of a haunting poem you've been reading for like 30 minutes. Like even Gwent, the card game, like it doubles as an exposition engine. It's, win a card from someone and you learn he spies for someone else. And then, you lose to the Bloody Baron, you hear him joke about a crone's boob or something. And then, I don't know. There's just a lot of things happening. There's like tons of interactions that are ingenious ways to deliver more story. And it's never the other way around. It's always more lore, more tidbits, more of the Witcher universe. And it's absolutely magical. All right, so let's briefly talk about the combat, because the combat in this game, people are saying, it's dated, it's 10 years old at this point, but for me, it's literally just a rhythm of music, of dancing, and that's what it is. It's timing your dodges, it's knowing when to roll, when to use Igni, when to use your other signs. You have the auto apply to the oils, which is a fantastic quality of life improvement, which I appreciate. And it's, some of it does feel a little clumsy, but like, it's okay. You hear like the grunts and the limps of Geralt, who's clearly been alive for a long time. And, he's probably in some pain. You use a Quen shield a little too late, and a peasant with a pitchfork can genuinely end you. Like literally, I got killed probably about, I think it was like 5 hours into this game by a pack of literally 3 dogs on Death March. I could not get past these dogs it was like 8 reloads of a save, and it was all my fault. So the combat is fair, and it does respect my time. I was just button mashing at that point. I wasn't trying to actually learn the dance. It's kind of like trying to dance before you even have like lessons when you're trying to do this like crazy salsa thing, which, I've never done that, but I can only imagine. But you know what I'm trying to say. But it's very deep. It's like, I don't know. Feeling the victories of some of these fights is so impressive, and I get so excited and ecstatic that the feeling lasts like when I'm done with the playthrough, if that makes any sense. So I could sit here and talk about all the different characters that I met so far. You have Triss, who I've spent the most time with at this point. I met Kira prior to that, and she was incredible. I loved her storyline. And she, I believe, she's at Kaer Morhen at this time. That's where I sent her. But every decision mattered. It made a difference. Triss is a phenomenal character, and I'm really starting to love her. But I haven't spent much time at all with Yennefer story-wise. We only saw Ciri. We got to play as Ciri a few times, but a little bit of the backstory. Ciri was with Dandelion, and now we're looking for Dandelion, and that quest line is massive. It's crazy. Zoltan is probably one of my favorite characters, but there's just so many different evolutions that can take place in this game. Never mind the beauty of the landscape or the soundtrack. I could probably make an entire video that's probably over an hour long, just talking about the music and the environments and how those 2 things alone would immerse me enough. Like, if no one talked in this game, the beauty of those 2 concepts would be enough for me to at least play the game for 50 hours. I'm serious. I've been in the water in a while. It just looks amazing. This is beautiful. Do you remember the first time that you saw this world? Like, can you recall? In danger. Someone's in danger. What is that? I'm like pumped for the monsters. Is that a griffin?
Different than you were in the tapestry.
Hideous.
Well, bring it here.
When I got to Novigrad the first time, it was just like a wow moment, like that Elden Ring moment where you open the door and you look out and you're like, holy crap, everywhere that I see, I can go to. And that's the feeling I get with The Witcher 3, except it's, 7 years before that game came out. So what they're able to do here, how they're doing it, and, I'm playing on PC, so the game looks exceptional. I'm running it in, obviously, ultra settings. When I'm recording, I have ray tracing off, but when it's on, it does make a subtle difference with the lighting, especially at night. And I just love that this world feels so dangerous. It feels so vibrant at the same time. And I hope I can articulate the feeling that I get when I play this game. Because sometimes it's hard when you're going through a playthrough, especially when you're recording, to get those points across, because I'm ultimately trying to take everything in and enjoy it, if that makes sense. So sometimes it's hard to articulate in the moment for 3 to 4 hours at a time how impressive like each segment of the game truly is. And the variety of enemies in this game is massive. Their different move sets, the way that they act, the way that the NPCs talk, everybody is different, everybody is unique. And a lot of the doors may be locked, but a lot of the doors in the houses in the cities, or even in the random towns and villages that you can actually go into and explore and look around, pick up a book and read it, loot a chest and find something that you didn't think was there. Like the side quest about the pan lady at the very beginning of the game, I could talk about her for about 45 minutes. It was just like this crazy side quest saying, okay, go find my pan. Will you help me? And I was like, yeah. And then it just turned into like this fun, ultimately a fetch quest, but very deep. And then we find this special item that made a difference. And it's just like that the entire time.
Just asks all polite. Gran, got any birch bark by chance? Lilac berries or even a few coals? Nay, says I. And you must be right daft to pester folk at night with such foolery.
I don't know what the hell she just said at the end there. The game turns into like a horror game at some points, especially the Ciri quest line. That literally felt like a whole different experience. And then it feels like Novigrad is this big, beautiful city, and you meet Triss, and it turns into this magical game with special powers, and it's all different genres of video games in one. And it's literally anything I'm saying here is not it's probably what most people feel, but you've experienced this 10 years prior, right? So for me, it's all new. And here's the deal. If you've already walked the path, which most like you have, tell me, like, what was that moment for you? The one that made you set the controller down, or your keyboard, your mouse and keyboard, and just like stare at the wall, like you're just processing what you'd experienced. What was that moment? If you haven't, maybe treat yourself to a weekend in Velen, right? Just try it. Go to White Orchard, because that first prologue area, the intro area, I think I spent 15 hours there, and I still didn't do everything. I probably did about 80% of White Orchard, so I still need to go back. But I don't know. There's just a lot of monsters. There's a lot of stuff happening, and human cruelty, impossible choices, heartbreak and grief, fun, danger. It's got it all. Loot. Either way, just let me know your story. I want to read them. I want to hear about it. Because the stories of The Witcher 3 are just the best that I've encountered or experienced to this point, and I'm looking forward to hundreds of hours more, and I'll see you either during the playthrough or on the next video. Appreciate you watching and listening to me ramble about this beautiful game. Till next time, see ya.
Not me key.
Not me key.
Little
pan.
sat there empty.
It is nice.
I like you, Witcher. Here, a small gift
Oh, it paid off.
for giving a damn.
Didn't expect anything. What'd I get?
Somebody else down. Brother lunged at brother.
Oh my
son
God.
At father.
What? What are you saying?
Black mare came. Reared up over there by that hut. Then the madness started. Took a hold of folk.
Fuck.
Mothers carrying babes suddenly smashed them against stumps.
Oh my God.
The horror. Me tongue don't want to say what my eyes have seen. And me mind hopes to forget.
That is awful. Poor Johnny.
Here.
Whiskey! Slither!
Oh.
Ringworm!
Creepy.
Rubbish, Bumblebee! Flabbergasted! Ha! The sound of it!
I'd be swearing.
Piper pick Prince Proximo a pack of pickle peppers by the pontar.
Really good.
Done celebrating?
My favourite words! Life without savouring the sound of surreptitious shenanigans is like licking
Try to say
snails
that.
through a cloth.
More than once.
This noble whoever you are, long be your life.
Saved you, Johnny.
Hang on a minute. I helped you, now you help me.
Do we have to fight, though? I just saw an enemy. I gotta blur that out. I gotta blur that out.
Do I get a prize?
I've nothing on me, but I'll think of something.
Oh, gotta blur that out. God damn.